My name is Chris, and I've been working the late shift at this gas station for months. It's a lonely job, especially in the middle of nowhere. But I've gotten used to the stillness until tonight. It started like any other night. The clock ticked on, the lights buzzed above, and the occasional car rolled in for a fill loop. Around 3 a.m. though, I noticed something strange. A truck parked at pump 2. It was a large, old model. The kind you see in those horror movies, rusted. With age. I hadn't heard it pull up, and it wasn't the usual type of vehicle for this area. It seemed out of place. I walked toward it, noticing the headlights were dim, casting eerie shadows across the lot. The truck's engine was off, but the door was slightly ajar. I stood there for a moment, staring at it, debating whether or not to approach. Then, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I felt like I was being watched. I walked over to the truck and knocked on the window. No response. The door was open just enough for me to see a large, empty seat. No bags, no sign of life, just an abandoned truck. I checked the back, but there was nothing in the bed. It was as though the truck had been left there for no reason at all. A strange feeling washed over me as I glanced at the gas pump. It hadn't been used. No fuel had been dispensed. The meter on the pump was still at 0. Yet, the truck had been sitting there for nearly 20 minutes. I walked around the vehicle, looking for some sign of the driver. But I found nothing. I was about to head back inside when I heard a sound of faint rustling, like the truck's door creaking. I froze. Then, I saw it. From behind the truck, a figure emerged, walking slowly toward me. It was tall, dressed in dark clothes, but their face was obscured by a thick hood. I stepped back, heart racing, as the figure stopped a few feet away. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound calm, though my voice was shaky. The figure didn't respond. It just stood there, unmoving. My mind raced as I stared at the dark, featureless face under the hood. The stillness was unnerving. I repeated my question, louder this time, but again, there was no answer. I felt the temperature drop, a chill creeping into my bones. My breath started to form a fog in the air, and I could see the faintest glow coming from behind the figure, almost like a light in the distance. Without warning, the figure turned and began walking toward the station's back door. I stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to do. My instincts told me to stay put, but I couldn't ignore the unease creeping up my spine. The truck had been empty, but now, this figure had appeared from nowhere. I ran to the back door, but when I reached it, it was locked. Panicking, I turned around, and to my horror, the figure was now standing right in front of me. I gasped, taking a step back. Its face was still obscured, but now I could hear faint whispers, like voices calling out from far away. The air grew heavy, thick with an unnatural pressure. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind. The figure raised its hand, pointing toward the door. A low, guttural voice whispered, "You can't leave." I turned and bolted for the front door. I didn't look back. I grabbed the keys from my pocket and shoved them into the lock. My heart pounded in my chest. As I stepped inside and slammed the door behind me, I breathed a sigh of relief. I looked out the front window. The truck was gone. The lot was empty. The whispers had stopped. I didn't know what had just happened, but I wasn't going to stick around to find out. I grabbed my things, locked the station up, and left. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been watching me, that something still was, and I knew I'd never return to that station again. My name is Alex, and I work the night shift at a remote gas station in the middle of nowhere. It's a quiet job, usually with just a few cars passing through every hour. But tonight, something felt off. The clock struck midnight, and the first odd thing happened. My phone rang. I checked the caller ID, but there was no number listed, just a blank screen. I hesitated, but then answered it. "Hello," I said, my voice shaky. There was only silence on the other end. I waited for a response, but nothing came, just static. Then, I heard a whisper. It was barely audible, but I could make out a word. "Help." I pulled the phone away, my heart racing. I called out again. "Hello, who's there?" The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a moment, unsure of what to do. Maybe it was a prank call. I shook my head, trying to brush off the feeling of dread creeping over me. But then, the phone rang again. This time, the number was different, but the voice on the other end was the same. It whispered again, "Help me." Before I could respond, the line cut off. I was about to put the phone down when I heard something else. A car, the headlights of an old rusted vehicle, illuminated the station in the distance. I could barely make out the shape of the car as it rolled closer, its tires crunching against the gravel. I quickly stepped outside, hoping to find out who was coming at this late hour. But when I reached the pump, the car stopped just a few feet away and no one got out. Confused, I walked around to the driver's side, knocking on the window. No response. The car sat there, unmoving, like it was waiting for something. I tapped on the window again, this time harder. Still, nothing. The car had no plates, just a worn-out frame. As I peered inside, I could see nothing but darkness. Suddenly, the phone in my pocket buzzed. I pulled it out, my hands trembling. It was the same number as before. "Help me." My pulse quickened. I looked back at the car. The headlights flickered, then went out, and the engine started up again. Slowly, it rolled forward. I backed away, feeling a cold chill creep up my spine. The car moved toward me, but it didn't stop. Instead, it passed right by me, the engine sputtering in an unnatural rhythm. I rushed back into the station, locking the door behind me. My mind raced. Who was calling me? Who was in that car? And why did it feel like something was watching me? The phone rang once more, but this time, I didn't answer. Instead, I turned off the ringer, hoping for some peace. But then I heard footsteps outside, slow and deliberate, the sound of shoes scraping against the gravel. I stepped toward the window and looked out, but there was no one there. The lot was empty. The car was gone. I exhaled, relieved, but my relief didn't last long. From outside the door came a tap, soft, almost too quiet to hear. Another tap, followed by a faint whisper. "I'm still here." I backed away from the door, panic rising in my chest. There was no way anyone could have gotten inside. The station was locked tight. The whisper came again, closer this time. "Help me." I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and ran out the back door. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed to get out. As I ran through the gravel lot, I looked back one last time at the station, and that's when I saw it. The same rusted car, parked in the lot, its headlights dimmed. No one was in it, but the engine was still running. My name is Jordan, and I've worked the night shift at this gas station for 3 years. It's usually quiet, but tonight felt different. At first everything seemed normal, the flickering lights, the occasional customer, but soon, the lights above me started flickering more intensely. I tried adjusting the switches, but nothing worked. The lights blinked, casting strange shadows around the station. I stepped outside, flashlight in hand, to check the wiring. That's when I saw a figure standing near the old shed by the back lot. At first, I thought it was just a shadow, maybe an animal. But the figure wasn't moving like a normal person. It was swaying, as if pulled by an invisible force. I got closer. I saw that it wasn't human. Its limbs were unnaturally long, its body stretched out of proportion. I froze, unsure of what to do. It didn't acknowledge me. It just continued swaying, its head jerking as though listening to something I couldn't hear. I slowly backed away. But then I noticed the lights above the station had gone out completely. The place was plunged into darkness, only the pale moonlight illuminating the surroundings, but the humming noise in the air grew louder, vibrating through my chest. Panicked, I ran to the door of the station, but when I grabbed the handle, it wouldn't open. I pulled harder, but something on the other side seemed to hold it shut. Desperate, I glanced around. The lot was empty except for a car parked at Pump 1. It was sleek, black, and unfamiliar. I walked toward the car. Its headlights were dim, casting eerie shadows, but there was no one in the car. The engine was off, and it sat unnaturally still. I turned back to the station, ready to escape inside. But as I reached for the door handle, I heard a click. The door opened by itself. I stepped inside, but something felt wrong. The station seemed different. The walls pulsed slightly, like they were alive. I tried to focus, to tell myself I was just imagining things, but the strange feeling only grew stronger. I glanced toward the parking lot again. The car at Pump 1 had moved closer to the station, its headlights shining through the windows, casting long, eerie beams across the door. The car stopped right in front of the entrance. Then I saw it, the creature, standing just outside the window. Its face was a dark void, featureless, empty. It pressed its hands to the glass, its fingers unnaturally long. I froze, unable to move. The coldness from outside seemed to seep through the glass, sending a chill down my spine. The humming stopped. Silence enveloped the station. My heart raced. The creature didn't move. It just stood there, watching, waiting. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned toward the door, but I couldn't move. It felt like the air itself was holding me in place. Suddenly, the door opened again, with a slow creak. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I glanced at the door, and everything was normal. The lights were on, the car was gone. The creature was nowhere to be seen. I stepped out, trying to rationalize what had happened, but something wasn't right. The strange humming noise was gone, but the air still felt heavy, suffocating. I glanced down and saw a fresh footprint by the door, dark and scorched, like it had been left just moments ago. I knew then that whatever I had encountered was still out there, waiting. My name is Ethan, and I've worked at this gas station for what feels like an eternity. I've seen all sorts of things, hear drunk drivers, strange characters, and even the occasional animal wandering through the lot, but nothing prepared me for what happened last night. It was another one of those slow nights, the kind where the hours drag on and you start losing track of time. I had just finished stocking the cooler when I saw the headlights in the distance, slowly coming toward the station. The car was a sleek, black sports car, shiny and pristine, unlike any vehicle I usually see here. The tires kicked up a little gravel as it rolled into the lot. The car pulled up to Pump 3, the one furthest from the station. I couldn't see the driver's face, just the silhouette behind the tinted windows. I watched for a few moments, expecting the usual. The driver would get out, fill up, maybe ask for a snack, and leave. But this time, the car just sat there, the engine running, its headlights cutting through the night like twin beams of ice. I approached the window and pressed the intercom button. "Can I help you with something?" I asked, trying to sound casual. No response. I repeated myself, this time louder. "Are you going to pump gas?" Still, nothing. Something about the car made me uneasy. It was too still, too silent, like it didn't belong to the world around it. There was an oppressive weight in the air, a suffocating silence that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The car's headlights flickered for a moment, but it didn't move an inch. I started walking toward it, feeling the cold concrete under my boots with each step. My heart was racing, and I wasn't sure if I was scared of the car or of something else that I couldn't quite put my finger on. The closer I got, the colder the air became. By the time I reached the driver's side window, I could see my breath, hanging in the air like fog. I knocked on the window, my knuckles tapping lightly against the glass. Still, no movement from inside, no sign of life. I pressed my face closer to the window, trying to make out the driver, but all I could see was darkness. The car was so dark, it seemed to absorb the light around it, like it was swallowing everything. Without thinking, I grabbed the handle and tried to open the door. It was locked. I stepped back, looking around a lot, half expecting someone to jump out and shout, "Gotcha!" But the station was completely empty. It was just me, the car, and the darkness stretching out beyond the lights. I took a deep breath and decided to do what I had to do. I reached into the station's supply cabinet for a flashlight and turned it on. The beam cut through the air and landed on the pump. But when I shone it back toward the car, something was different. The pump handle wasn't in its usual resting position. It was standing up, fully extended, as though someone had just used it, but hadn't put it back. I approached the pump cautiously, confused. The gas nozzle was still, dripping drops of fuel falling onto the ground. But no car had been filled. My mind raced, trying to understand what was happening. Had someone pumped gas and then ... disappeared? There was no car to be seen, no tire marks, no sign of anyone having been there. Yet the pump was still leaking fuel, as if the car had just been there, moments ago. I turned back toward the station, my body frozen in place. That's when I saw it. The reflection in the window of the station. The figure was standing just behind me. A tall, dark shape, too tall, with arms that stretched unnaturally long. It was a shadow at first, just a blur, in the reflection. But as I turned, it vanished. I spun around, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps, but there was nothing. The car was gone. The pump was back in its original position, the nozzle hanging limp, no sign of the black sports car anywhere. I ran back into the station, locking the door behind me. My heart was pounding, my hands shaking as I tried to calm myself. I couldn't explain what had just happened. Who would have filled up without getting out of the car? And why had the figure appeared in the reflection? My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I kept checking the security cameras, but the footage didn't show anything unusual. The car never appeared again. The pump was fine. Everything seemed normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next day, when my shift ended and I was walking to my car, I glanced at pump 3. I stopped dead in my tracks. There, right in front of the pump, was a single footprint. It was dark, as if the ground beneath it had been scorched. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know who or what visited the station. But I do know one thing. I'll never be able to look at that pump the same way again. My name is Daniel, and I work the night shift at a gas station just off Route 46. The place is isolated, with only the occasional trucker or lost traveler stopping by. Nights are usually quiet, but last Thursday, something happened that still has me questioning my sanity. Around 2 a.m., a thick fog rolled in, swallowing the road and station whole. It was the kind of fog that seemed to muffle sound, making everything feel eerily still. That's when I saw him. A man stood by pump 3, barely visible through the haze. He was tall, wearing a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat, his face obscured. What struck me as odd was that I hadn't heard a car pull up. The road had been empty all night. I watched for a moment, expecting him to start fueling up, but he just stood there, motionless. Unnerved, I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. The air was heavy with moisture, and the temperature had dropped noticeably. "Sir?" I called out, my voice sounding small in the silence. No response. He didn't even flinch. I took a hesitant step closer. "Can I help you?" Finally, he moved just a tilt of the head, as if acknowledging me. But as the beam of my flashlight landed on him, my stomach dropped. He had no face, no features, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth, pale skin stretching over where his face should be. My breath caught in my throat, and every instinct screamed at me to run. Then he took a step forward. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the flashlight. What do you want?" My voice was shaking, barely above a whisper. The man in the fog raised one hand and pointed behind me. I didn't want to turn around, but something compelled me to look. The gas station behind me was different. The bright fluorescence inside flickered erratically, and through the glass windows, I saw people standing inside, not moving, not talking, just staring out at me with vacant expressions. Except, there was something off about them. Their faces were blank too. I whipped back around, but the faceless man was gone. The fog had thickened, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. My heart pounded as I stumbled back toward the station. But when I reached the door and looked inside, again it was empty. Just the station. Exactly as it should be. I locked the doors and sat behind the counter, gripping the flashlight like a lifeline. The fog didn't clear until sunrise, and when it did, everything felt normal again. But when I checked the security footage later, my blood ran cold. At exactly 2 a.m., the cameras glitched, distorting into static, and for just a moment, one frame remained clear. A still image of the man in the fog, standing inside the gas station, right behind me. My name is Eric, and I worked the night shift at a small, nearly abandoned gas station off Highway 17. It's a lonely job, but I don't mind the peace and quiet. Or at least, I didn't. Not until last Sunday. It was around 1:30 a.m. when the bell above the door jingled. I looked up from my phone, expecting to see a customer. Instead, a man in a faded blue uniform stood there, staring at me. "Didn't hear a car pull up," I muttered. He just smiled, a slow, unsettling grin. "I work here too," he said. I frowned. "No, you don't. I'm the only one on shift." "That's so." He stepped closer. "Then why is my name on the schedule?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled sheet of paper. It was a schedule for this exact station. My eyes scanned the names, my own listed for the night shift, and just below it, another name. Thomas. I don't know where you got this," I said, my voice unsteady. "But you need to leave." His grin widened. "I've been here a long time, Eric. Longer than you. Longer than any of them." A chill crawled up my spine. "Any of who?" He just laughed and turned toward the door. "You should check the basement." I didn't move as he stepped outside, his form disappearing into the night. Then I heard a faint knocking from below. "We don't have a basement." Heart pounding. I grabbed the flashlight from under the counter and hesitantly walked toward the supply room. I had worked here for 6 months, knew every inch of the place. There was no basement, no door leading down. But as I stepped inside, I saw something I'd never noticed before. Small, rusted handle on the floor, barely visible beneath a stack of old boxers. I swallowed hard and pulled it open. A staircase led into darkness. A wave of damp, stale air rushed past me. And then, the whispering started. Voices, dozens of them, murmuring, pleading. I took a step back, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I couldn't move. Not until I saw it. A hand, pale thin fingers curling around the edge of the opening. I slammed the hatch shut and bolted out of the supply room, heart hammering. My shaking hands locked the store's front door. I turned, expecting to see Thomas still standing there. But the station was empty. The next morning, I told my manager everything. He just sighed and shook his head. "You're not the first, Eric, but you'll learn, like the rest." I quit that night, but sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat, certain I hear knocking beneath my floor, and I wonder if I had stayed, would my name be on the next schedule? Would someone else find my voice among the whispers? My name is Jake, and I've been working at the gas station off Route 22 for almost a year now. It's the kind of place where the nights blur together. One endless stretch of flickering lights and the hum of the refrigerators. But one night, something happened that I can't forget. It was around 3 a.m. when an old sedan pulled up to pump 6. A woman got out, dressed in business attire, gray suit, high heels. The kind of person you wouldn't expect to see at a rundown gas station, in the middle of nowhere. She looked panicked, glancing around as if expecting someone to jump out of the darkness. She hurried inside, her heels clicking against the tile. "Please," she said, breathless. "You need to help me." I straightened. "What's wrong?" She looked over her shoulder at the glass doors. I took a wrong turn. My GPS led me here, but I don't think this place is supposed to exist. That sent a chill down my spine. "What do you mean?" She dug into her purse, pulling out her phone. She showed me the screen. Her GPS app was open, but the map was completely black. No roads, no markers, just the blue arrow that indicated her position, floating in empty space. I frowned. "That's weird. Maybe the signal's bad out here." She shook her head violently. "No, I tried driving back the way I came, but the road just ends. There's nothing there. And I swear, I've seen the same stretch of highway 5 times. It's like I'm stuck." A deep unease settled over me. I stepped to the window, looking out at the lot. The air outside seemed still, too still. No wind, no bugs chirping, no distant hum of passing cars. Just silence. "Maybe you should wait inside for a bit," I said. "I can check the maps," and the power cut out. The gas station plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the woman's phone screen. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Then, from outside, something scraped against the pavement. A slow, dragging sound. The emergency lights flickered to life, casting eerie red glows over the aisles. I reached for my phone, but before I could even unlock it, the automatic doors slid open on their own. Cold air flooded inside. The woman gasped, clutching my arm. "Don't let it in," she whispered. My pulse pounded. "Let what in?" She didn't answer. She just shook her head, eyes wide with terror. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, just beyond the doors. I turned my head, and my breath hitched. A figure stood in the doorway. Tall, unnaturally thin, its face obscured by the flickering lights, but its eyes, 2 pinpricks of glowing white, locked onto mine. The woman grabbed my hand. "Close your eyes. Now." I didn't question it. I squeezed my eyes shut, heart hammering. The footsteps continued, closer, impossibly close. My skin prickled as if something cold and damp was brushing against me. Then, the whisper, low, distorted, echoing in my skull. "Wrong turn." A gust of wind roared through the station, knocking over shelves, sending papers flying. I clenched, my jaw refusing to open my eyes. Then, silence. The lights buzzed back on. I opened my eyes. The gas station was normal again. The woman was gone. The sedan, at pump 6, vanished. I ran outside, searching the lot, the road, the darkness beyond. Nothing, just the wind picking up again, whispering through the trees. I checked the security footage later. At 3 a.m., the cameras glitched. When they came back, I was alone, standing at the register, staring at the door like nothing had happened. But as I watched, I saw something else, something chilling. The timestamp at the bottom of the screen. It wasn't 3 a.m. anymore. It was 2:59. The clock had reset, and I know, one night soon, she'll come back. Lost again. My name is Daniel, and I work the overnight shift at a gas station off Highway 16. It's the kind of place where you don't stop unless you have to, surrounded by miles of nothing, just flickering neon and an empty parking lot under an endless night sky. The first time I saw him, it was raining. The kind of rain that pounds against the windows like desperate hands. The lot was empty, except for a lone figure standing beneath the buzzing fluorescent lights. He wore a long coat, his face obscured by the shadows of the hood. He didn't move. He just stood there. I glanced at the security cameras. The screen flickered, static cutting through the feed, but I could still see him moving, watching. I stepped to the door and hesitated. The moment my hand touched the glass, the figure took a step forward. My breath caught. Something about the way he moved unnatural, jerky, like a marionette controlled by unseen strings. My stomach twisted. I locked the door and backed away. Then, the power cut out. Darkness swallowed the station, leaving only the rhythmic pounding of rain. My radio crackled to life, though I hadn't touched it. A voice whispered through the static, "Let me in." I spun around. The figure was gone. The lot was empty. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone, but the screen was filled with static. A deep, hollow knock echoed through the station. I turned, heart hammering. He was at the glass door now, closer than before. His hands, pale and elongated, pressed against the glass. Droplets of water slid from his fingertips, smearing the surface with something darker than rain. Then he moved his head, not turned, moved, like his neck was bending in slow, unnatural angles. His face emerged from the hood, and my blood ran cold. His skin was smooth, featureless. No eyes, no mouth, just blank, wet flesh. I stumbled backward, crashing into shelves. The radio crackled again. "Let me in." The lights flickered, then returned. The figure was gone. I gasped for air, my pulse erratic. My mind screamed to leave, but I was trapped. The rain outside intensified, hammering against the roof. Deafening. Then my phone rang. The screen read, "Unknown caller," with shaking hands. I answered. Silence. Then a single word, distorted through static. "Run." The front door creaked open. I hadn't touched the lock. Cold air rushed inside, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else, something rotting. The overhead lights flickered violently as the sound of wet footsteps filled the station. I turned, and he was inside. His featureless face loomed inches from mine. My body locked in place, my breath stuck in my throat. His hand reached up, fingers stretching unnaturally long, grazing my shoulder. Ice spread through my veins. Then, everything went dark. When I woke, I was behind the counter. The store was clean. The lights were steady. The rain had stopped. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A single message. "See you next shift." The lot was empty, but I knew he was still out there, waiting for me. My name is Tyler, and I work the late shift at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. It's quiet most nights, just me, the hum of the fluorescents, and the occasional lost traveler. But last Thursday, something happened that I still can't explain. At 2:07 a.m., a rusted old truck rolled into the station, stopping at pump 4. I watched from behind the counter as a man stepped out. He wore a faded flannel and a trucker cap, head low, movements sluggish. I waited for him to come inside or start fueling up, but he just stood there, staring at the pump. Minutes passed. He didn't move. My gut twisted. Something felt ... off. I grabbed the station phone and dialed the outside intercom. "Sir, you need help." My voice echoed over the speakers. Slowly, he lifted his head. Even through the security cameras, I could see his face. Hollow eyes locked onto mine through the glass. Then the screen glitched for a brief second, the image distorted, static crawling over the monitor. When it cleared, the truck was gone. The man was gone. Pump 4 was empty. I blinked, my stomach knotting. I had just seen him. He had been standing there. I stepped outside. Cold air bit at my skin. The lot was silent, except for the distant chirp of crickets. I walked to pump 4, expecting to see tire marks, footprints, something. Nothing. No trace of the truck. No sign that anyone had been there at all. Then I saw the receipt. A fresh receipt curled from the printer attached to pump 4. I ripped it free. Heart pounding. Time. 207 gallons. 000. Total. $0. OOA. Gust of wind howled through the lot. I turned on instinct, expecting to see someone, but I was alone. Shaken, I went inside and checked the security footage. My fingers trembled as I rewound the tape. At 2:07 a.m., the truck pulled in. The man stepped out. Then static. When the screen cleared, there was no truck, no man, just me, staring at an empty lot. My expression twisted in confusion. I replayed it again and again. Each time, the same result. I didn't sleep when I got home. The next night, I almost called in sick, but curiosity gnawed at me. I needed to know if it would happen again, and it did. At exactly 2:07 a.m., the rusted truck appeared. The same man stepped out, staring at the pump. This time, I didn't speak. I just watched. The security screen flickered. Static crawled across it. My pulse pounded in my ears. And then, the truck vanished. This time, when I stepped outside, there was something new waiting for me. A receipt time. 2:07 gallons. 0.00 $0. Oh, message. Help me. I haven't worked a shift since, but I know one thing for sure. Tonight, at 2:07 a.m., that truck will return, and I don't want to see what happens if I answer. My name is Ethan, and for the past year, I've been working the night shift at a gas station just outside a nowhere town. It's the kind of place where the roads stretch into an abyss of darkness, where headlights rarely pierce the void, and where strange things happen when no one's watching. At first, the job was easy: stock shelves, ring up the occasional traveler, and kill time with horror novels. That was until a week ago, when the static calls started. It was 2:14 a.m. when the phone rang. Expecting a wrong number, I answered. But instead of a voice, I heard static crackling, shifting, almost breathing. Then, beneath it, a whisper. "Don't look at it." I hung up, heart pounding. A prank, I told myself. But it happened again the next night, and the next. By the third night, I refused to answer. The ringing wouldn't stop. It continued for hours, gnawing at my sanity. I finally yanked the phone from the wall. Silence followed, and then I saw it. Through the glass doors, a figure stood beneath the neon light, featureless, motionless, staring. My skin crawled. Every instinct screamed at me to hide. Then, the power cut out. Darkness swallowed the station. A whisper slithered through the air, unbearably close. "I told you not to look." A blinding flash filled the station, and suddenly, I was outside. The gas station loomed behind me, its neon sign flickering with distorted letters. The road stretched into an abyss. No cars, no sound, only silence. Then, the static returned. It seeped into my skull, drowning out my thoughts, my screams. In that endless noise, I understood. I was never going home. The night shift had claimed me. I don't know how long I stood there. The warped neon sign cast grotesque shadows. The gas station doors swung open, as if beckoning me. Against my better judgment, I stepped inside. The air was thick, suffocating. Shelves lay overturned, snack bags torn open. The security monitor glowed red, showing nothing but static. Then, in the reflection, I saw it. A dark silhouette loomed behind me. I turned too fast, nearly losing my balance. The aisle was empty. My heartbeat thundered as I backed up against the counter. The register display flickered wildly, settling on 2:14 a.m. Then, The phone rang. I had destroyed it, but there it was, vibrating violently on the counter. My shaking hand reached out, barely brushing the receiver, when a voice hissed through the static. "Let me in." I threw the phone. The lights flickered, then burst, plunging the station into total darkness. Something moved ahead of me, deliberate steps. The air grew thick with the scent of decay. A hand, pale with sharp nails, curled around a shelf. Then another. A shape emerged, shrouded in writhing mist. It had no eyes, only gaping voids where they should be. A whisper crawled into my skull. "You looked." It lunged. I ran, slamming into the storeroom, locking the door behind me. My chest heaved, my hands shaking. Silence stretched, but I knew it was still there, waiting. The static rose, deafening. The walls warped, the ceiling cracked open, revealing a swirling abyss of darkness. I screamed as the ground disappeared beneath me. When I woke, I was back behind the counter. The gas station was as it had always been, shelves stocked, fluorescent lights humming. The phone sat undisturbed. The clock read 2:13 a.m. The door chimed. A traveler entered, oblivious, and outside, under the neon glow, the figure watched, waiting for the next shift to begin.